Hello everybody, welcome to another Doctor Who review. And this time, I ask, will happiness prevail? Yes, so I'm reviewing The Happiness Patrol, the second broadcast story of season 25, starring the 7th Doctor, Sylvester McCoy, and Ace, played by Sophie Aldred. I have, as always, meet here the television companion. I'm going to read out the synopsis that comes out of the plot in this book. So, here we go. The TARDIS arrives on the planet Terra Alpha, where the Doctor and Ace discover a society in which sadness is against the law. A law enforced with considerable zeal by the brightly uniformed Happiness Patrol. The planet is ruled over by Helen A, with the aid of her companion Joseph C, and her carnivorous pet sticker axe named Fifi. The penalty for those found guilty of unhappiness is death, in a stream of molten candy prepared by Helen A's executioner, the robotic Candyman, and his associate Gilbert N. The Time Travellers help to foment rebellion amongst the downtrodden population and the subterranean Pipe People, the planet's original inhabitants, and Helen A is overthrown. Joseph C and Gilbert M escape in a shuttle, while the Candyman is destroyed and Fifi killed. Helen A finally realises that happiness is nothing without the contrast of sadness. Ah. So, yes, one of my favourite stories of Doctor Who classic series, in fact of all time. And most people, when they watch this story, they think, hang on a minute, it's quite light, it's quite bubbly, the sets are really cheap and, you know, really grating, you know, they don't look good, the set, you know, that sort of thing. But if you think about it, that's the whole point. That is the point of the Happiness Patrol. It's an artificial surrounding that they're setting in. Alright, it's all studio based. It would have been nice to maybe have some exterior stuff for the street scenes, but it is all studio based. But apart from that, the garish colour schemes in Helen A's office and the Candyman's Candy Kitchen are really striking. The colours are very muted and very dark and very despairing and very film noir, with all these shadows and that in the streets. And there's a good couple of scenes that show that in the story as well. But it's deliberate, it's there to give a point, and it's subtly done as a parable of the state of United Kingdom of Great Britain in the late 80s when it was created. Helen A is probably a parody of Margaret Thatcher. You've got Joseph C, which is parody of her husband Dennis. You've then got the drones with the protests and the strikes, referring to the miners' strikes earlier in the decade. And then you've got the downtrodden people who feel they've been repressed and oppressed with the policies that are happening. This time with happiness. You know, you've got to be happy, otherwise you die. You've got the Happiness Patrol, these groups of basically terrorists. That's what they are. They're basically big police, the secret police, effectively, at the end of the day, going around making sure everybody's in order, so it's like a police state. And then also you've got the Pipe People, which are like the original inhabitants, the people who are downtrodden and are being, you know, forced underground, and kind of that's a reflection of the unemployment that was going on in the 80s and some of the apathy that was being felt by some members of society at that point. And to be fair, it's done subtly. You don't, you know, everybody can more or less pick out that Helen A is a parody of Margaret Thatcher, and you've got Joseph C as Dennis, but then you've got all these other characters round about. You've got the fawning, effectively deputy, which is Daisy Kay, which would be reflective of Willie Whitelaw and the cabinet at the time. At the time of this being filmed. And then you've got the Candyman, which is the big monster, and he is the big controversial thing. Definitely with a controversy in regards to his appearance, the way he's been designed. Bassett's, the sweet company that's based in the UK, took a bit of an umbrage to the design because it's very similar to their Bertie Bassett character that they were doing at the time to advertise their licorice all sorts. But whatever the case with that, I've got to say that I do enjoy this story because it's just a nice romp. It's 3 episodes. It's not long. It's maybe a little too short. Maybe it needs a little bit longer for some of the small characters to delve in. But speaking of characters, I'm going to go into the characters a little bit more in a minute. But there's a couple of other things I want to mention here. There's a couple of times in there which I've noticed this past couple of times of watching it, the routine disappearances. Now that's basically people being killed and taken away, you know, so they're disappearing as such. But there is a couple of numbers that come up that are mentioned at one point. Helen A mentions at one point in the first episode, routine disappearance
499,987.
And then In the next episode, she turns around and says routine disappearance number
500,005.
There's quite a killing spree going on in one night, if you think about it. And if you think about 500,000 people have disappeared, basically. More than 500,000 people have disappeared through the actions that she's done. And it's quite sadistic. You get smothered by molten candy. That's really quite sadistic, and I've mentioned that on here. But definitely, there's certainly some elements at the beginning, and there's certainly some elements through there which are very film noir-like. There's a lot of shadows, there's a lot of darkness. The camera work is maybe slightly off balance. It's not quite straight, just like this shot here. It's perspective, guys. But yeah, no. In all seriousness, though, there are a good couple of scenes. You've got the very opening scene with the Killjoy that's sitting down on the park bench when Silas P comes along, this undercover thing.
There's a place, a secret place, where some of us go to indulge our depressions, to share our miseries with other Killjoys like you and me.
And obviously he gets his comeuppance latest when he tries it on the Doctor and kind of regrets it, I think that's a polite way of putting it. And then you've got what is probably one of the standout scenes for me in the whole story is the balcony scene. The Doctor is trying to get between one place and another, and the sniper's on the balcony, shooting anybody who moves, basically. And the Doctor manages to talk one of the snipers down, because he's pointing at point-blank range at the Doctor, and the Doctor manages to talk the sniper down from killing him.
Why don't you do it then? Look me in the eye, pull the trigger, end my life.
No.
Why not?
I can't.
And that is the first proper, there's an element in each story of season 25 of this darker Doctor that we see in season 26, and this is the element that you see in this story. There is that whimsical Sylvester McCoy-ish. He plays his strengths here in regards to the whimsical side that he plays, but there is a dark plot. There's a plotting there, and you're starting to see, carry on what happened in the previous story that was broadcast, Remembrance of the Daleks. You're starting to see the darker Doctor and his plots and schemes. And he's actually made a point to come here to try and sort things out. It's not like he stumbled in. He's actually made a point, and he makes that clear at the beginning of the episode. So when it comes to the characters, you've got the Doctor, you've got Sylvester McCoy. It looks like he's finding his feet at this point. And one thing to notice of this story, this is actually the last story they recorded of season 25, but it went out second. So it was the last story they recorded. So at this point, Sylvester McCoy knows his character. He knows what he wants to go with it. So with the next season, we know, obviously, the darker, manipulative Doctor is really coming through at that point. So this really shows, obviously, the character and development here. And he goes a little bit later again in the next story, Silver Nemesis. But then again, it is Silver Nemesis, and I won't go into that in this. Sophie Aldred, yeah, you can see she's settled in the role now, and she's loving the character of Ace, and is very, very right, and says, no, that's not right, you can't do that, you can't do this. There is a slightly childish element there as well, but she is still exploring at this point, so I suppose that's probably true. You've then got the guest cast. You've got Sheila Hancock, who's absolutely fantastic. She nearly steals the show in all the scenes that she's in, even with the ones when she's with the Doctor and the other characters, and Ace. She's really plays it brilliantly, and it's a really great interpretation of the character, and she really proves how much of a sycophant and how much she really is in denial that everybody around her has fallen apart. She's in denial. She wants to have her own vision, and she will not stand in anybody. She'll not have anybody standing in her way. That's very clear. And then you got Joseph C, played by Ronald Fraser, who's the very good sidekick husband, who's meek, but he does get his comeuppance at the end, which I think is really nice. You've then got the Happiness Patrol themselves. You've got Daisy Kay, played by Gina Hale, who I know better as Teabag, one of the kids' TV shows that she starred in a couple of years later. Very good performance here, very, very driven. She's a very good lackey, head lackey. She knows what she's doing. She's got that very sadistic bite in there, and I think the voice helps with that. She's got that kind of voice that comes across with that. You've got Rachel Bell playing Priscilla P. Another side of the darkness, she enjoys the sadistic moment of being there. She loves tracking them. She's a fanatic, as she's called at one point. It's a really great character to see there. You then got Susan Q, who is the Happiness Patrol, who's not happy. She's the member that's not happy, played by Leslie Dunlop, who's becoming quite a regular in Doctor Who by this point. Her and another guest star have appeared in Doctor Who in the Fifth Doctor's era. But Leslie Dunlop makes another appearance here as Susan Q, and it's a quiet enough performance. She does it strong enough, and it works for the time. And then you've got the Candyman, played by David John Pope. Now, I love the character Candyman. He loves his work, but he's a great character, and he plays it. David John Pope plays it with aplomb, and considering it's a very bulky character, and it's a character that, oh dear, and it's very possible that the character is a bit more, it's hard to see. It's hard to see the character in a light that you can maybe go with here. But the Candyman I do enjoy. I think the character comes across as a great Doctor Who monster, but there is a bit more of a sadistic tone there. And the fact he gets stuck with lemonade, I don't know if that's true or not, and then gets sorted by water. I think that's a bit odd. But the Doctor manages to play him for a fool about, which is great. Then you have Gilbert N, the inventor of the Candyman and basically Candyman's sidekick, and you see that he's got a very dark tone to him as well, and he decides, you know what, I'm not fixing the Candyman again this time round. He's such a pain in the bum. I'm not going to fix him again. And I love that sadistic side. He's saying,
but remember this, Candyman, symbiosis. You need me and I need me.
You need you.
I need me.
I need you and you need you.
That's right. And just as you're squeezing the breath out of me, your candy hand tightens round your own throat.
and I think that's quite a cruel thing. And I love the arguments they have there. It's supposed to be happy, and half the characters are arguing all the time. It's quite sadistic in that respect. It must be happy in Hell and Ace sights, you know. If Hell and A knows you're happy, then you're fine. But if you're not in Hell and A sights, you can be a bit more grumpy or angry. I think that's a bit weird. And then you got Trevor Sigma by John Normington. Played by John Normington, and he is basically better known for playing what was it? Oh, the character in Graves of Adrazzani. It'll come back to me. It'll be on the bottom here. Case of Adrazzani, and he's playing the Morgus. That's what it is, Morgus. He's playing Morgus in Caves of Adrazzani. He makes his appearance for the last time in Doctor Who here. Different characters, very meek, humble, but you get the feeling that he's playing a kind of meek and humble man. He's playing a consummate civil servant at the end of the day, but he knows what he's doing. He knows what his aim is. And there's a comment made there when the Doctor meets up with him in the end, the third episode at Forum Square, where he basically turns around and said, they wanted to know what Helen A's killing spree was like because they're a bit concerned about what's happening on this colony. And I think that's quite a cool little line that you may miss sometimes. And then you've got Richard D. Sharp, who plays El Sigma. Nice little character, nice little sidekick for the Doctor, but he doesn't really do much apart from play the harmonica. And even that, I think, has been done off camera as well. I don't think he actually plays the harmonica himself. I think he's actually miming to someone playing off camera, if I remember correctly. But overall, I do enjoy this story. It's one of my favourite stories, and you'll hear this. It's 15 minutes nearly this episode's gone on. I've just gone on and just rolled and rolled and rolled and rolled and rolled. And it's a good sign of an episode when I know it and I love it and I can watch it again and again and again. I really appreciate it. And I love it because it's got all these extra layers. You've got the upfront layer who is going, oh, that's a bit rubbish. And then you've got the layer underneath that, the slightly darker tones, and then you've got the darker tones underneath in regards to the suppression and everything else, and it just works a treat, and I really do enjoy this episode, and I really hope that if you guys haven't seen it yet, you get a chance to see it, because I think it's one of the better stories of McCoy's era. And it's funny, because everybody has a split of 6 bad and 6 good, and half the 12 fits in most people's bad. It's actually in my good. I would basically say the whole of season 26, bar Battlefield, and then you've got Greatest Show, Remembrance, and Happiness Patrol. I would say those are my 6. So you've got those. Most people say the whole of season 26. They say Greatest Show and Remembrance, and they leave out the Happiness Patrol as one of the bad ones. No, I disagree. I'm not a great fan of Battlefield, to be fair, but that's something you'll find in a later review, I'm sure. Okay. That is it. That's the end of the reviews for 2017. Thank you very much, guys, for watching. They will be back in 2018, and I have a few plans of maybe having some contributors with me when we're doing the reviews next time round, so that'll be quite fun. Even if it isn't, you'll just see me a piece of camera doing the usual, as always. But if you've enjoyed this, thanks very much for watching. Don't forget to check out the 6 facts on the Happiness Patrol. It's in that corner there. Also, don't forget to check out the rest of the Doctor Who reviews of this series. Next week is Odd Week video, and it's the last of the Kidstructors, and what a lovely Christmas treat you're going to have there. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Once, as I say, give you your opinion, your memories of the Happiness Patrol, and I almost forgot once again, I did it last video as well, to give my ratings out of 5 for the TARDIS. I'm going to give this 4.5 out of 5. I don't tend to give 5s. I know it's one of my favourites, but I give it 4.5 out of 5. So it's high up there, it really is. Anyway, yes, as I say, give your opinions and comments about the Happiness Patrol below. Comment below. You can obviously subscribe if you like what you see. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and click the notifications as well. And that'll tell you when a new video gets released. But they do get released at 4 PM GMT on a Sunday. So until next week, thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you later.